The following presentation is brought to you by the Realm Network.
It's right about time again to swerve again, confuse the general fans again.
So now I said, Owen, I said, bro, you need to call Vince. This is not in my place. You need to call Vince. And Owen said, Vince, I've been trying to call him all night. I can't get a hold of Vince. You need to do this for me. Now, Kenny, you knew Owen.
Yes.
If you knew Owen, you loved Owen.
Yes. I was getting ready to point out that him and Chris he loved Chris. And he put Chris over at every town we ever went to. He had Canadian bottled water waiting on him. Yeah. Owen was he was almost too good for the wrestling business.
He was too good, not almost. He was too good.
Well, there you go.
So, Kenny, now Owen's crying to me. He can't get a hold of Vince. I can't say no to Owen. And I said, okay, Owen, I'll call him. So now 3 days later, I had to call Bret Hart. And I told Bret, man up, Kenny. I said to him, Bret, I got to be honest with you. You'll never understand this. And you will probably hate me for the rest of your life. I understand exactly why Vince did what he did. He was trying to protect his company and everybody in it. It's not that he didn't trust you. He didn't trust Bischoff. I said, and I'll be honest with you, I agree with the decision he made. Yeah. And that was very, very difficult for me to do because I respected Bret so much.
Yeah.
So then, Kenny, I wrote this whole scenario, the whole story in a book I wrote 12 years ago. And then all of a sudden, people are tweeting me, blah, blah, blah. Cornette's door cussing me. It was all his idea. He came up with it. And I said, you know what? First of all, I'm not proud that I suggested that. I hated that the whole thing had to go down that way. It was freaking horrible for everybody. But you know what? If Cornette wants credit for that, he can have that.
I got something special for you here. Jimmy never won now because I kept getting all the phone calls of the meetings that you all were having and getting as I said, my 2 cents worth. It ain't that I had any pull or I was going to make anything happen, but I was going to put in my 2 cents worth and whatever happened. This is where you're about to find out where great minds think alike because you, out of frustration, yelled it into Vince's ear about 2 or 3 days before the match actually happened. I'm telling you, I said, well, who the hell does he think he is to think that he can dictate his final match? He's taking the money. He's going elsewhere. He ought to be happy that they're even going to give him a parting match. Sorry, you do what you're told, and then you take your money and go to the next company and see what they want to do for you.
Right.
He has no say in what goes on in that match. And so we kept having these talks. And in my hand to God, Vince, I would not lie to you. I told him, I said, you know what I'd do? I'd put that SOB in his own sharpshooter move, and I would ring that bell the minute it was locked in. Right. I swear that's what I told him. And here you said the same because I felt that was the end. Jimmy says, Kenny, the man is not stupid enough to let that happen. That's what he told me how he felt. And then he called me 20 minutes before the match was about to go. He says, Kenny, you are about to crap your pants. And he said up until then, Vince was ready. Now, this is what Jimmy said. Vince was happy to let it go the way it was going to go. He said he never made up his mind to do the screw job till about 20 minutes before that match happened.
Yeah, I have that I have no idea of because I was.
You said you found out as it was applied.
I found out as it was happening.
Jimmy claimed he begged Vince all day long the day of that show. You've got to do this. Now, why Jimmy was vested in that, I don't know. I know that Jimmy was not the biggest fan of Bret Hart as a person. Yeah. One of the funny things I was going to tell you, he said that, and Bret was bad at this because I've heard him do it myself, and then I've heard others tell me about it. How he would like to sit around and tell people how great he was, and how many matches he had won, and who he beat. Well, I bet you now you've been in the ring a few times, and you've been against some greats. Have you ever beat John Cena?
No, and I wanted to.
I have.
That. I know you have. I wanted to because Kenny, listen, you've been talking to me for an hour and 15 minutes, and I haven't even talked about your great career.
I'm having a ball doing what we're doing.
No, Kenny, I got notes about your career that started at OVW in 1987. Correct?
Late 86 or 87, yeah.
Now, Kenny, let me first ask you this before I go over some of the highlights here.
But before you do, I want to finish my Bret Hart story.
Okay.
Bret Hart was telling everybody how great he was, who all he had beat and everything. And a lot of times I'll be sitting in a room with a lot of wrestlers, and they'll do the same thing. Talk about who they beat. I said, wait a minute, how many people at this table have beaten Jerry Lawler? Oh, none of you. How many people in here has beaten John Cena? None of you. How many people in here has beaten Mark Henry? None of you. How many people in here has beaten Big Show? Oh, none of you. Rico Constantino? I've beaten them all. And then they look at me and want to crap on me. And then I'll say, hey, my matches were just as real as yours.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, Jimmy was right about that. I mean, Bret really did believe he was the Canadian hero. And
Jimmy claims that he told him, hey, Bret, you haven't won a real match in 20 years. Shut the F up. Well, that's what he claims he said. He might have thought it.
Bret took great pride being like the Canadian hero. And I'll be honest with you, Ken, I had no problem with that. If Bret wanted to think he was the Canadian hero, I was cool with that. I like
you gotta have confidence.
Yeah, I like Bret as a person. I never had any.
We loved Owen. Owen was the best.
Owen was the best. Kenny, I'm reading this. Now please mark me up on this.
Okay.
And tell me if anything has changed. I'm reading you're in OVW from 87 to 2012, and I'm going to go over some of the history.
September of 2012.
Now, that's kind of where the story ends. September of 2012.
That's where it ended.
Yeah. Now, you say you're walking away for family reasons, from what I'm reading. Now, now the only thing I could think of, Kenny, is watching you and young Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Has there ever been any heat between you and young Chris over the years? Because maybe Chris doesn't thank you enough for the good looks you passed along to him.
He does not thank me.
I don't thank him for that.
He doesn't thank me for his good looks.
Was that the family problems that we're talking about?
I was so proud to have him take over Bolin Services when it became BS 2.0, roughly about 3 years before I retired, 3.5. And I was so proud to have him there. I mean, I don't know if you know this or not, but Chris and I, and you might call me on this, to my knowledge, Chris and I are the only first, second, and third generation purely managers in the history of the wrestling business.
Wow, that's something to hang your hat on right there.
It's something. My mother managed one match. She managed Jerry Lawler.
Interesting.
She managed Jerry Lawler against me at Six Flags and won. She retired undefeated, and it made her a third generation, the third generation of the management.
But Kenny, listen, smarten me up now. Nobody retires from wrestling. After 25 years, did something happen? I mean, what happened?
Did you ever see any of the OVW shows around the 2012 mark?
I did not. I saw one show today before I came on, and it was the show where Cornette was kind of coming back as the matchmaker, and you were kind of throwing a fit.
I had just come back myself. I'd been in the hospital for a while, and I don't know if you saw it or not, but they wheeled out an IV for me and a special chair and all the comforts at home, and they was going to make life easy on me. And then as I'm sitting there in my easy chair, I got a recliner out there and everything. And then they bring Cornette back, which just ruins everything for me. So, yeah, I recall with that show. And once the WWE went away, needless to say, the quality of that show started to decline.
I mean, I could probably jump in on this.
Go right ahead.
I was more involved in production because I was actually working on the shows. At the time, it was being run by a guy who came in through USWA. He wrestled as Trailer Park Trash. His real name is Frank Miller. He was in charge of the day-to-day operations of OVW, booking spot shows, kind of organizing where people were supposed to be. And in OVW, everybody works for free. You're doing it for exposure. You're doing it to be seen.
Except me.
Yeah, except him. And I was there more or less as a favor to him and Cornette. He really wanted me to get into the business, and I really wasn't that sure. I can talk and I can run my mouth, but I've seen what the business has done to you, for example, and what exactly. I mean, I've been a big supporter of yours for a while.
So we were in desperate need of somebody that could talk other than me because I was the neutral announcer, neutral who leaned toward the heels.
Right.
So I got brought in as a result of that, and through Frank Miller being the guy who was running the house shows and the booking of the talent, and then Al Snow who was writing and who was it was a very poor imitation of ECW's Paul Heyman era.
And I love Al Snow as a person.
Great guy,
but
not a wonderful booker. And things got to be so unpleasant and so uncomfortable in the locker room and so difficult to deal with. And nobody felt appreciated. Everybody was basically being abused for no apparent reason. And if you didn't suck up, then you were just on the outside of everything.
They love suck up at OVW.
And that's anywhere in the business. The guys who are the most sycophantic are the guys who generally get the most. And he was in declining health and decided that he needed to move kind of away from Louisville, get away from a lot of the free food connections. You can see it didn't really take.
Didn't pan out.
So he basically showed up there one day and said, you know what, I'm leaving. And I think I'd always kind of gotten.
Yeah, I showed up and gave him like 4 hours notice that it was my last show. I don't even think it was that much.
You
Danny,
never got 4 hours early,
show.
so.
And so I probably owed him a little bit more than that, but the opportunity for me to leave, it was going to be that weekend to get out of the state, get away from here for a while. And there just wasn't really any opportunity for me to give them any more notice. The opportunity presented itself, and I took it. And I thought one day I would come back. And when I kind of dangled that carrot out there a little bit, they acted like, well, we've already got some announcers now. We don't have an opening. Even though the night I left, I was told, you're welcome back anytime. You're in the Hall of Honors. You just show up down here. And well, Trailer Park Trash did not want me back because me and Chris were not his yes men. So he was put in charge of OVW. So the minute he heard that I might be considering doing, and what I wanted to do was come back and do 4 final shows with Dean Hill, because I didn't really get to give a proper goodbye. I wanted me and Dean Hill to do 4 last shows because I heard he was leaving, which he didn't.
No.
So it didn't really matter anyway. But I was not made to feel too welcome by one Trailer Park Trash. But I've never been a yes man, not even to Cornette. I remember going off on Cornette in front of Jim Ross one night. I was told that might have been one of the stupidest things I ever done. But Jimmy had talked down to me in front of Ross. You know how you can get. And I didn't take too kindly to it, so I yelled back, and I was told I probably shouldn't have done that, but I did, and I stand by it to this day. You know, I'm a man. I don't know what you are in the wrestling business, but none of you have earned the right to talk down to me. I don't care if it's Vince McMahon. I don't care who it is. Yeah. Talk to me like a man. Yeah. You know, whatever we are, we're all men.
Kenny, I've burnt so many bridges behind me that I've run out of matches. Kenny, listen, talk to me here. Talk to me here, because let's you and me be honest. Now, Kenny, here's the part of the show that I got to give you a warning.
Okay.
I have been called the Oprah of podcasting.
You gonna make me cry?
People have cried on this show. I'm just gonna warn. I had one of the gorgeous ladies of wrestling cry on the show. Glow.
If you have a bleeding dolphin in your office, I will cry. Hey,
Kenny, how great was Glow, by the way?
How great was Glow?
Yeah, the gorgeous ladies of wrestling.
How great was it?
All right, that's enough. Kenny, that's a show for another time. Listen, talk to me, Kenny, because I'm not buying this.
I honestly didn't get to see a whole lot of Glow, even though I did a show with one of the ladies from there a couple of weeks ago. I didn't get to see a whole lot of those. Okay. They weren't really on around here.
Now, Kenny, you're going to here's the deal here. You're going to either smarten me up or you're either going to work me.
Well, pretty good chance of either one. So
okay, let's call a spade a spade.
All right.
I want you to talk to me here.
All right, I'll talk to you.
Listen, listen, you know, again, I'm going to get back.
He's here to bury me, even if I do try to work. Yes,
listen,
so
I'm here like to, bro, again, Cornette, I'm a liar. I'm a this, I'm a that. Kenny, I'm Italian. I wear my heart on my sleeve to fault. My honesty has gotten me in so much trouble in the wrestling business because we're not around a lot of honest people. And when you tell it, right, and when you tell it,
I work for Nick Goulas.
Yeah, and Kenny, when you tell it like it is, that sometimes that doesn't abide well. But anyway,
Howard Cosell told it like it was. What was he? The world's most hated announcer, the world's most loved announcer.
Yeah. So I'm gonna lay this out to you because listen, you were in the business a lot longer than I was in the business. The wrestling business, from everything you've told me here, it's in your blood. It's part of who you are.
It is.
Okay?
I agree.
Me, as a 13-year-old kid, the Valiants in Lou Albano, to a 55-year-old man, whether I like it or not, it's part of my makeup.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Kenny, here's the problem.
Okay.
Like you, about 4 years ago, I walked away from TNA because the politics were just too much for me to handle.
Right.
You know, Kenny, you know what it is too? Like the older you get, the less you want to deal with the politics.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. I walked away. I walked away for all the right reasons. I have no regrets whatsoever. However, whether I want to admit it or not, it's still a part of my makeup, and it's still a part of who I am. When I watch today's shows, you know, the frustration comes out, the disappointment comes out, knowing what wrestling once was, knowing what it still can be. So I still wear that on my sleeve. So now here I am, out of the wrestling business for 4 years. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a part of who Vince Russo is.
You don't hear the name Vince Russo and not think of wrestling, so I would 100% agree with it.
And Kenny, me to you, because, you know, there's a lot of similarities here. Sometimes it gets very difficult.
Well, we both screwed Bret.
Yeah, we both screwed Bret. We're both paying for it. But now, Kenny, on the outside looking in, sometimes that gets difficult. And it's hard. It's hard for me to fill that void. So I'm not buying that it's over and done with. I'm sitting on the sidelines and I'm as happy as a kid watching Jerry Lawler in the first row.
All right. So
Talk to me.
You want an answer to that?
Yes.
Let me tell you how I filled my void. Good old Facebook. Facebook is where, and my son played a bit of a part of this, because once I retired. And I really retired from OVW, but where else was I going to go around here? My health is bad enough. I can only stand 4 or 5 minutes at a time. We're working on that. We got some things in progress medically that hopefully within the next year, things are going to be a lot better. We're going to do and I'll admit it right here for you. I'm going to do the surgery. I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not one of these guys. I mean, you see, I weigh 520 something pounds, Vince.
Kenny, what is this surgery you're talking about?
The gastric surgery.
Okay.
For the weight reduction.
Gastric band, yeah.
And plus, I have to do a sleep study. I have to get my heart shocked back into rhythm. A lot of things have to be done. It's about a year process between the dieting on top of it to prove to them that I can't get to a proper BMI. That's what I was trying to tell you the other day. And it's going to be about a year process to get all that going again. But when my heart is out of rhythm, I retain a lot of body fluid, and weight gain is like 30, 35 pounds a year. When I was age 39, I weighed 270 pounds. By the time I was 52, I weighed 569 pounds.
Wow, Kenny, yeah.
And there's not a lot of 60-year-old, 600-pound men walking around. So I feel fine. It's just I don't have that much. I lose my breath very easily. Needless to say, the knees hurt without going into that. And I can only stand like 4 to 5 minutes at a time if I'm lucky. About a year's worth of work has to be done, and hopefully that's all going to get better. But I've never really told anybody this before. So I'm opening up to you on your show.
I'm Oprah. I'm Oprah, Kenny.
Oprah.
I'm Oprah.
I haven't cried
Kenny,
yet, though.
Kenny, as sad as this is, I'm sitting here, and let me tell you
but about the walking away. You asked me about walking away.
Wait, hold that story for a second, because I got to tell you this is how sick I am. You know what's going through my mind while you're telling me about this story with the, you got to get the heartbeat back in the rhythm?
Yeah.
If Stan the Man Stasiak was still around, all he had to give you is the one heart punch, and you're back on track. But
I took 3 shocks the last time I was out of rhythm, and I said, "Doctor, I felt both those shocks." He said, "I got news for you. We gave you 3."
Oh my God! All right, now tell me now. Tell me about the Facebook.
Facebook. Once it was out that I had retired from OVW and was leaving, I was amazed that nearly 5,000 people gave a damn. I was just amazed that many people, and around the world. I mean, we've got, for the people that have bought the DVDs everywhere, you name it, people have bought the DVDs. They've bought things from me in the past. But I come up with a thing called Beats by Bolin. I don't think I have any of them on me right here. And then, of course, there's my book. And can you get that up there, Chris?
We're going to the book. I probably screw you too.
There you go.
Great.
And so a lot of people say that there's other people that should cut that title before I did. But that's what I was known as in OVW, is the guy that just screwed everybody that ever came through. Mm-hmm. And some people even think that that is real. They think that that is me in real life, that I just screw everybody I come in contact with, because I do try to make what I do on television seem real. So right. Go figure. But the Facebook fans made me realize that they cared about me. And so I started selling my merchandise. And I come up with a thing called Beats by Bolin headphones. He told me I would sell a grand total of 10 sets.
I was a fool.
Well, 2.5 years later, we've now sold over 3,500 sets.
Oh, my God.
Of Beats by Bolin headphones.
Is that what you're wearing now?
No, these are the Monster N tunes that I just happen to have handy that I could plug both of us into.
Okay, I got you.
These have the dual ports, and most of my Beats by Bolin do not have the dual ports.
Got you. Okay.
So for the show, these are better. But I put sports logos on them. They look a lot like Beats, and I put sports logos on them. Louisville Cardinals, Kentucky Wildcats, whatever. You have a logo. If Vince Russo has a logo he wants on a set, they can be put on there. And I sell them from anywhere from $39 to $59, depending on the quality of headphone. And so that kind of got that going on Facebook. And then eventually it led to the shirts that Christopher designed. We weren't allowed to sell his heels. Well, once I had retired from television, and then once he retired, like 3 or 4 weeks later, he got fed up with OVW and left as well, and was just totally fed up with the wrestling business and didn't want to go back. So we started selling our shirts. So our shirts started doing well. The Beats by Bolin headphones were doing well. My book, I think we've now... You know, I'm sure you've sold way more books than I have, but we passed 1,000 copies recently. That ain't bad for an old fat boy from LaGrange, Kentucky. You know, I never dreamed I'd sell 1,000 books anywhere. And we're on Kindle now, and it's doing very well there. And just chugging along, and maybe doing your show might even help those sales a little bit.
Hey, Kenny, I got to tell you something. I'm just giving you a heads up here. You know, I went to your Wikipedia, right? And this is a shoot. I'm just telling you this because you might want to check it out. And on the bottom of the page, it gives like, you know, the website. When you click on the website through Wikipedia, it takes you to some Japanese website.
What's the name of the website? Because it might be an older one.
Oh, maybe it is an older one because
check it out.
Yeah, check it out because I mean I wanted to go to the website so I could see everything that was happening and everything you were selling. It didn't send me to your website.
I don't think that one exists anymore. Right now, the only website we're using is the bolinalley.com.
Okay, we're gonna go.
That's where we hear our show.
We're gonna go through all that. I'm not done talking to you.
Okay, I'm here as long as you need me.
All right, Kenny. Here's what I want to talk to you about. I'm looking
at... Most people are done with me 5 minutes into the show, so you've said... No,
I'm not done. Because I'm looking at this very pristine members of Bolin Services.
Oh, my. I'm even blown away by that list.
Yeah, some people, good friends of mine, I'm going to bring them up first.
Okay, all right.
Well, you know, Mark Henry, who I worked with at WWE, obviously.
One of my dearest friends in the WWE. Love him to death.
One of the nicest guys in the world, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Man, sad story, but I think these guys had all the promise in the world. Tell me a little bit about Mark Jindrak and Sean O'Hare.
Jindrak and O'Hare came in. To me, they were flat out, and this leads to a funny story with Cornette. You might remember this.
I'm sure once
Jindrak and O'Hare, when they came to OVW, Cornette was convinced they were not going to get a call up to the
No, Kenny, let me ask you this because I just want to get the timeline straight. They were already in WCW, then they came to you?
Yes.
Okay.
They came to us, and I think we had them a little bit at that old building. I don't know if you ever got to see that place or not. And then we went to the new building. Well, the new building was like the Taj Mahal compared to what we came out of. The building that OVW was founded in, that the WWE bought us in, or bought into us, we paid $300 a month rent for that building.
Jeez.
That was now, the new building's quite a different story. I know the number on that one, and then it ain't $300.
Yeah.
But Jindrak and Sean O'Hare, and we also had Lance Cade here during that time. And Jimmy bet me another bet he never paid off, $1,000 that Cade, Jindrak, or O'Hare would not get called up to the WWE. Well, I want you to know that 3 weeks later, after we had made that statement, Jindrak and Cade got called up. O'Hare, as a matter of fact, when he got called up, beat Hulk Hogan fair and square in the middle of the ring.
When Hogan was doing the Mr. America thing.
Who was he doing?
The Mr. America gimmick.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan. And he beat him. So when Jimmy called me to the ring, I had the canary, the cat eating the canary grin on my face because he told me they wouldn't get called up. And I said, Jimmy, I said, what do you think? And he said, well, here he is, ladies and gentlemen, if it ain't the old StarMaker himself. That was the first time I was ever referred to as the StarMaker, because it seemed like if you got in Bolin services, you were getting called up. And all the guys knew it, and they would fight each other to see who could be in Bolin services. I mean, I am not kidding you on this.
Wow.
There would be arguments and fights in the back as to who got to be in Bolin services, because that was your ticket to the WWE. And so when they got called up, I said, now, it wasn't too long ago as you was telling me that the Cade and Jindrak were never going to see a day in the WWE. I said, you looked at me like I had a smoking turd in my mouth, Jimmy. And he lost it. He laughed on camera for the first time ever. Because he said he thinks, I'm pretty sure, that I'm the first person to ever say smoking turd on a professional wrestling television.
Well, here's my favorite Cornette one-liner, and of course he will call me a liar, and he never said this. I made this up off the top of my head.
Okay.
My favorite Cornette line was in a creative meeting between myself, Vince, and him. It was just the three of us. Cornette made the statement. You ready for this, Kenny?
I'm ready.
Triple H will never draw a dime in this business. Okay, that's word for word. But anyway, Kenny, let's go on to your prestigious.
I got another one. He said would never draw a dime, and you can tell me what your opinions are. He said that Nitro. What did he end up?
John Morrison, Johnny Mundo, and Lucha Underground.
He said he would never draw a dime in the WWE. I'm not so sure that was the case.
Yeah.
He said that Paul London would never amount to a hill of beans. I don't know that was exactly the case. I thought London should have done better than the opportunity he got. I was very entertained by him.
Did he ever refer to anybody back in those days as deader than Kelsey's nuts?
Yes, but they were so bad and here so little, I don't recall who they were. They were a tag team that was here for one match. Do you remember?
Shane Twins. The Shane Twins. They were the
Shane Twins.
The Shane Twins. I know the Shane Twins.
The Shane Twins.
Kenny, tell me this concept would not be money. And Kenny, I'm telling you this as an absolute shoot.
Okay.
Kenny, you asked me about watching TV before. I don't watch that much, but I do like
reality. You got one right behind you right there with them nice tube TVs.
Yeah, exactly. Kenny, I like reality TV. Okay? Kenny, this has always been my $1 million idea, and this is an absolute shoot.
Let's hear it.
I think this would be the #1 show in the entire world, and I am not kidding you. Can you imagine a reality show where Jim Cornette and Dutch Mantel are roommates?
Oh, my God.
I mean, Kenny, come on.
Yours is probably better. My son had an idea. Now listen to this.
I wanted him, Cornette, and Jim Mitchell, the Sinister Minister.
Oh, great.
Yes.
He's not done. Listen.
I wanted them to go on a motorcycle tour of Asia through Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia.
Yeah, all the rough places.
And
that's money. That's money, Kenny. Money.
I think Jim Mitchell's in. I think he'll do it.
Oh, I told Minister. Minister loves the idea.
Bro, how is that guy not in the wrestling business?
That's a shame.
Can somebody explain that to me?
He is made for the wrestling business.
I don't know how he survives.
And I have countless talks with him. He and I have become dear friends. He's been very kind to me. He says he's glad he didn't have to compete against me in WCW, and ECW and also TNA. And that was the ultimate compliment because I thought his work was off the charts.
Unbelievable. I was lucky to work with him. Kenny, look, can I tell you what this lunatic Jim Mitchell did to me?
Go right ahead.
I have him on my podcast because I love him to death.
We feel the same way about Jim Mitchell.
So talented, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, bro. I had him on my show, and Kenny, let's face it, you and I both know, as I think the world does, Jim likes to drink once in a while.
Yeah.
All right. So, Kenny,
amongst other things.
All right, let me set the stage for you.
And so I've never had a drink.
Me neither. I'm not a drinker.
Never smoked, never drank, never took a pill.
Me neither. I'm the same way.
There we go.
So, Kenny, okay, so here's
how in the hell are we friends with Jim Mitchell's what I want to know.
Kenny, listen to this. So he does my show, and he wants to make sure nobody interruptions. There's no interruptions at home. So he decides he's going to rent a hotel room. So he's going to do my show from the hotel room, no problem, right?
All right.
So, Kenny, we're doing the show from the hotel room. Through the show, bro, he's just pounding down one after the next. And I mean, now he's
how long ago was this?
A year and a half.
Because he says he's quit drinking and that he's dropped about 50 pounds.
Okay, well. All right, so Kenny, here's the deal. Kenny, he's drinking. The more hammered he's getting, the more he's burying people. now it's the Jim Mitchell show. I'm not even talking. Like he's going on, and bro, I'm sitting back and I'm getting my pants entertained off me. It's unbelievable. But Kenny, so now he's blasted. He's in a hotel room by himself. Ask me what the third thing is he adds to the party.
I would say women.
He takes out a gun and starts waving it all over the place.
Oh, no.
Now, Kenny, I'm here in my office in Colorado. This nut job is in Florida, in a hotel, drunk off his backside. Now he's got a gun with him.
Oh, Lord.
I swear, bro, I did not sleep for the next 3 days. I kept checking the headlines. Only wrestling. Kenny.
I did not know that he owned a gun, and I'm scared to know that he does.
Yeah, and Kenny, you listen.
Me.
You could check my archives. It's. I didn't cut anything out. I thought it was entertaining.
We'll see it. Don't worry about that.
Yeah,
Kenny, I thought it was ratings.
I subscribe to the brand, so we'll check the archives.
Check it out. I'm telling you, it's crazy. Kenny, let's talk about your illustrious career.
All right, why not?
Did you have a clue when John Cena was under your guidance and tutelage?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a clue that this guy was going to become so huge?
Absolutely. And apparently, and I have to admit, Cornette was aboard too. And so was Danny Davis, but guess who was not? Vince McMahon. Vince wanted to get rid of him and wanted to get rid of Rico Costantino. As a matter of fact, they did technically get rid of Rico Costantino. They cut him. And we had a meeting with Stone Cold Steve Austin, who loved Rico. He thought Rico hung the moon. We were not aware that Cena was even remotely being considered being cut until we found out Vince had no use for him and didn't get it. And Vince McMahon. And we're blown away. We're like, what are they not seeing? And the most entertaining thing about but John Cena was the training, the promo contest, when you would be given a scenario and then you'd have to cut a promo about it. And they would go to Cena and say, okay, I need to hear something about a cage match, Mario and a squirrel. And then he would give you the greatest cage match between Mario and a squirrel that you ever heard in your life. You'd want to buy tickets to see this match. And he could do it with anything. He honestly to God, he had no reason to be with me. It's just the three of us clicked well together. Rico, Cena and myself, and of course O'Hare and Mark Henry were there as well. So I was loaded, man. And then these were guys that, back then, you don't know if they're going to get their chance. I mean, there's a lot of people that come through. We thought Bull Buchanan was really going to be.
He was he was great, Bull. I've worked with him many times.
I don't know how he didn't get to be bigger in the WWE than he was, because he was very talented. And then I had Bull at that same time as well. I mean, I had a loaded stable, and we all really got equal time. None of us were jealous of the other's promos or anything. It was just sometimes it would feature one of us, and other times it wouldn't, and we all just really clicked very well together.
Kenny, what was the Cena? What was his gimmick back then? I'm just curious that Vince didn't see. Was he doing the rap thing?
No, he wasn't doing that. He would tell a couple of poems every now and then. That was really as close as he would do. They got him out of that godforsaken thing that Bassman had him doing, the prototype, the robot. They had him as a robot out in California, and then we got him after that. So I could certainly see why Jimmy or Daddy wouldn't care for the robot. Vince, I never know what Vince is going to jump on and what he's not. So I thought maybe Vince might have preferred the robot over what we did with him.
Yeah.
But we brought him in as basically the prodigal son of Rico. He was
Rico's prototype for the perfect wrestler.
Exactly. Yeah. And he was gold here, man. They none of us ever drew, obviously, like you're going to do on the big stage in the WWE. So it's kind of hard to gauge then who's over and who's not. But judging from a talent basis, Cena, to me, is the best that we ever had here from talent as a personality. As a wrestler, then obviously we've had a lot better, and he'll be the first to tell you that himself.
Yeah. Now, Kenny, I want to ask you this. And then we're going to plug everything, the website, the book. I probably screwed you too. The headphones, the shirts, the Facebook, the whole nine yards. I want to ask you this though, Kenny. I've listen, part of the brand, Chris will tell you, part of the brand is that I used to watch Raw every Monday night and then critique it on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. I could not stand watching the show anymore. So I couldn't
When did you abort? Because I used to watch it every Monday night as well.
I'm still watching it every Monday night because a third party is now paying me for a review. That's really the only reason. But I got tired of it. So what I did was I started going back to the Attitude Era and almost doing like a director's cut. Okay? Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, Kenny, as I went back to the Attitude Era, I had not seen these shows in 15 years. Mm-hmm. And I really started to pay attention to the little nuances and really looking at the show from afar. Mm-hmm. Kenny, I got to tell you, I walked away from this saying, and I say it publicly now, you had The Rock, you had Austin, you had Mr. McMahon, you had Mick Foley, you had everybody you'd ever want to have on that roster.
Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart.
Yeah, but I got to say this, walking away now and being able to look at it, I say publicly, I believe Shawn Michaels was the greatest wrestler I ever worked with. From A through Z, I really believe that.
As much as it kills me of knowing him as a person and knowing how he refused to want to sign an autograph for my son because of his hatred for Cornette as well, it kills me to say it, but you're right. He was.
Yeah. Well, that's what I wanted to ask you, Kenny. I was going to ask you, is it still Lawler with you? Or, no, seriously. Is it? Listen, Lawler's wrestling. But had that changed through the years?
No. And I'll tell you why. I just got done going to, where did we go? What was that city?
Jackson, Tennessee.
We went to Jackson, Tennessee to see Jerry Lawler and Terry Funk's final match. Lots of young people. Lots of young people on the show. Lots of people that had been in Memphis before. The Rock and Roll Express was there. Bill Dundee was there. Not everybody wrestled. A lot of them shouldn't have, but a lot of them did anyway. Jerry Lawler and Terry Funk still put on the most entertaining match of the night. Chris had never got to see Jerry Lawler throw fire in his life. He got to see it that night. He damn near set Terry Funk's head on fire. The hair, I don't know what he had in his hair, but it caught fire, and his face almost looked blistered red by the time he got backstage. They dumped garbage cans on top of each other, hit them with mop sticks. It was just an old Memphis-style brawl between two practically 70-year-old men. Lawler's 66, Funk is 71. Funk actually took a bump through the ropes to the concrete floor at 71. If I fell down now, it would take a team of excavators to be able to get me back up. But no, he fell and was right back up finishing the match. The thing is that, do you remember when Jerry and Booker T had a bit of a run and it almost looked like they were going to put the WWE title on? It was
Lawler?
Miz.
Jerry and Miz.
Well, Booker and Jerry had a good little deal going there too.
They did, but the one you're talking about.
You're right. You're talking about, because Booker and Jerry had a good one as well. But it looked like they were going to put the title on Lawler. I was convinced they were going to do it. And I didn't see any harm for what Jerry has done for the business, especially the Southern wrestling business. What would have hurt them to put the title on him? He beat The Miz. Come on.
Yeah.
He beat a reality star. Big deal. He beat The Miz. Have him beat The Miz and let him be the champion for a week, a month, whatever, and then pick your next person you want to run with it and let Lawler pass it on. What would that have hurt?
I got to tell you this, Kenny, and I want to see if you agree with this, because I was telling JR this, a couple weeks ago, and I meant this from the bottom of my heart. This is an absolute shoe with me.
All right.
The wrestlers come and go. Listen, we went from Hogan to Austin.
Some of them do.
Well, some of them do.
Go.
Right. But, it's always
won't go.
Right. But, in my time, Bruno, Hogan, Austin, Rock, John Cena. So, there's always going to be somebody.
Cena was on the NBC News today. I did not realize he's now 39.
Yeah.
He turns 39 in April.
And
he's almost a 40-year-old man.
And nobody in that entire company can still hold a candle to him. But
not as an entertainer.
Not as an entertainer. But my point is this. Wrestlers come and go. But I told JR this. I don't care what anybody says. When JR and the King left the booth, that entire show changed. And those two guys are irreplaceable.
Absolutely.
And that changed the entire company. And I don't think they ever came back from that, to be honest with you.
I love JBL. JBL's a good friend. He wrote a nice foreword in my book, but I'm sorry, there is no beyond JR and Lawler. Why would you want to break that up? It's bad enough that you've broken up so many great tag teams, so many great gimmicks that were working. Why would you break up? The fans would lose their minds every time. They'd ever separate them. They'd always be forced to bring them back. The fans speak. The fans tell you what they want. And just because Vince McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, and whoever else is in charge doesn't like Southern style commentary, that's what worked. It's what worked. And those two together, you didn't need anybody else. You didn't need a third guy. You just needed those two.
I go back, like I said to you.
And let Lawler be Lawler. Don't put a damn head. No, not one of these. Yep. Let Lawler be Lawler. He don't need anybody in his ear telling him what to say and what to do. Let him do his thing. I was backstage once and I heard them feeding Lawler lines. I was about to die. That is the last man on the planet Earth you need to feed a line to. He will be just fine on his own. Leave him alone.
Kenny, I swear, I review the Attitude Era shows every week, and all I do is I sit there and I'm like writing down JR and Lawler lines the entire 2 hours.
Tell me that announcers don't make the show. When you got crappy announcers, what have you got?
You got nothing.
You got nothing.
Bro, announcers today, they have no clue how to get a talent over. They have no clue how to get a story over. They have no clue how to make you not change the channel. There was nobody like these two. There will never, ever be anybody like these two.
I'm not trying to say that me and Dean Hill were Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross, but around here we were pretty good as a team. And a lot of fans really liked Dean and I together. When I went away, it was much the same thing. There was nobody for Dean to play off from. I was the person who would try to get the talent over. What was sad is that our talent didn't understand I was trying to get them over. When I talked about how small a guy was, well, Kenny said I was small on TV. He pointed out I was small. No, the 6'4" guy you were standing beside pointed out you were small. Now I'm trying to tell the story about how little you are and how you don't have a chance. And then when you beat him, what a big deal it is.
Right.
Let me bury you. You get to prove me wrong. You're the baby face. Believe me, with Cornette's booking, you're going to go over. We work shows at Six Flags, Vince. We would have 9 shows at Six Flags. Guess how many times the baby faces won? 10. I don't know how the heck they got an extra one in, but they would.
Well,
Kenny,
listen, we're going on 2 hours here, and you're coming on again. Both you and Chris are coming on again.
We can have us back.
I look forward.
Absolutely, without
we're going on 2 hours, aren't we? Good.
We are going on 2 hours.
Time flies when you're having fun, and I'm having a good time.
And I love it, bro. I love it. I love to hear the perspective. I love.
Well,
to hear
I
the
have
stories.
to think, because the only reason I'm on your show right now, and I think you'll admit this. Who's the crime guy? David
Wills.
David Wills. He said at the end of his show that He said he asked you to bring me on.
Yeah.
And I wanted to assure you, because I knew due to the history and all that you might be a little reluctant to have me on your show.
Yeah,
and I certainly appreciate that you did.
Well, I think like Dave Wills, I think came on my show. Listen, he was wearing his Cornette shirt. He had all the current Cornette merchandise on the table. And I think he was like, I think he was looking for a fight.
He was trying to instigate something. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it.
Bro, you promote all the Cornette stuff you want. I don't care. I mean, and once I said that, I was thinking, he was like, oh, well, okay.
Oh, he must be cool.
He was a great guy. He was a great guy to talk to. I was very entertained.
He drove here especially to meet me and to buy some of my merchandise. He took us where to O'Charlie's for dinner and refused to let us pay. We thought we were buying for him because he bought so much merch. I felt bad for him.
Oh, that's
but just the sweetest, nicest guy, and he calls me all the time. We've become good friends.
He actually called me after he did your show and was telling me, he's like, I'm trying to get you into Russo because I've been a fan of yours for a while, so I'm officially out of the.
This is his Christmas present that you allowed him to do.
Well, Merry Christmas there, Chris.
Thank you. I'm out of the Cornette will. I might not ever be spoken to.
Yeah, forget this is the kiss of death right now.
So now you have to put Chris in your will.
Yeah,
he wants the monitor back there behind you.
So he called me and he's telling me all the Cornette stuff, and I'm like, what are you doing? He's gonna think we're gonna ambush him, which is obviously not my intention.
Yeah, of course that's what I'm gonna think at first.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, though, Chris, like with Dave, it's like I'm not going to run away from that. I'm not going to dislike somebody because your wrestling philosophy is different than mine. I think that's ridiculous.
And that's what I always say when I bring this up, because I talked about this on the alley. I always bring up, the difference between you and Cornette, and how you said it best in a shoot interview you did years ago. I don't remember which one. You said, how can you hold on to a grudge for this long with a human being over how he wrote a television show?
I forget when you said that, but that just summed it all up.
Yeah,
for me.
It's really, if Larry David changed the writing of Seinfeld in season 8, I'm not going to be pursuing him to his doom.
I don't know. But anyway, I'm glad that the three of us are now friends. And Kenny, listen, fire away. Everything you want to tell us about, this is it. Tell us everything. Take your time. Lay it all out for me.
All right. Well, first of all,
you're in for a show.
No, I'm going to go easy on him. First of all, fans, if you're entertained by what we do, pardon me, son, what are you doing here? If you want to go to my Facebook page, believe it or not, guys, I do everything off of Facebook. I had a website, as Vince pointed out earlier. I've forgot what KennyBolin.com, whatever it was. And I sell 10 times more stuff off Facebook than I did off my website. So I just did away with the website. Just contact me at Facebook. Tell me what you want. We have the Beats by Bolin headphones. We've got the BS T-shirts. We've got the DVDs, A Decade of BS.
Bowling guy T-shirts.
6 years of my, what's that?
I'm a bowling guy T-shirt.
I'm a bowling guy T-shirt. We've got the book. Well, we have this, as a matter of fact, in a, there we go. I actually learned how to use this camera here. We have that on a T-shirt. Basically, just whatever that you want, let me know, and I do the Beats style pills. They have the Facebook logo on them, but they sound just as good as the Beats pill. They call me Bootleg Bolin for a reason. And but the headphones I'm most proud of because he told me I'd never sell 10 sets, and we've now sold over 3,500 sets.
That's tremendous, man.
And
hey, Kenny, what does the bottom of your shirt say? Because I can't see the bottom. I wanted to see what it says.
It says Bolin Services. That's the BS, and that's Survival Program.
Yeah,
when I explained to him, I bet he might know.
When I took over the group, he was always more of a comedy character, more of a Southern, Roscoe P. Coltrane.
More or less.
Yeah, he was a funny Southern guy.
Leghorn.
Yeah, Foghorn Leghorn. Paul Heyman always
called me.
And I suck at doing those kind of promos. I'm a funny guy to talk to, but I can't just do stand-up comedy. And I was always very angry. And there was a Japanese movie that I was in love with as a kid called Battle Royale, which borrows a lot from pro wrestling. And it's basically a group of 8th grade students get sent to an island, and it's a fight to the death to see who gets to go back. And when they made the movie, this was essentially the logo, but with a BR instead of a BS. So when I took over the group, I wanted something cool, so I just completely hijacked the logo.
Hey, Chris, I have to ask you this now. You were born and raised in Louisville?
Yes. I was born in Nashville, raised in Louisville.
You were born in Nashville. Where the freak is your accent?
My grandmother asked me the same thing. She says, "Where the hell did you get that Yankee accent?"
Tell him what you told everybody for about 25 years.
For most of my life, I was not a big George W. Bush fan, and I went to a very conservative school. And I got a lot of heat for being against the government as they perceived it. And they said, you can't do that. You got to be patriotic. I said, well, I'm Canadian. I said, and you were actually booking Lance Storm as Team Canada at the time. So I completely jacked everything he was doing, much like he did with Lawler.
Yeah. He has people convinced to this day that have known him all of his life that thinks he was born in Canada.
Toronto, Ontario.
Now, Kenny, that can't bide well with you that he sounds like a Yankee almost, does it?
No, it does not. There's the Mason-Dixon line for a reason. And so that you can learn how to talk for one and get good cheap housing for another, which I noticed you're now in Colorado. I hear it's going up quite a bit out your way since marijuana got legal. They said everybody wants to live in Denver now. It's
a big business. It's a big business here in Colorado. Kenny, you know that's just another. I swear, I just crack up sometimes. It's another little Cornette sidebar. He always used to refer to me as the Yankee. He used to call me a Yankee, like thinking that would piss me off. And I do remember some of the clothing you wore on television. You didn't run from the Yankee moniker. I had to explain to him. He used to go, Yankee, you damn Yankee, you Yankee this, you had to yank that. I finally had to say to him one day, Jim, you do understand. Our baseball team is called the Yankees. It's not an insult to me that you call me a Yankee.
Well, absolutely, but no, we always make fun of the Mason-Dixon line, and Jimmy did point out one thing to me when he lived in Connecticut. He says, "How in the hell can you spend nearly $1 million to live in a home there when you could take $250,000 of that million and had 5 times the house in Charlotte, North Carolina?"
He hated Connecticut, man, with a passion. He hated that place.
But he also hated Louisiana too. So.
Hey, Kenny, you didn't even mention. You're on Twitter.
Yes, Twitter, /StarMaker Bolin, /StarMaker Bolin on Facebook as well is an easy way to find it. I'm not on Twitter as much, but anytime I make a post on Facebook, it goes directly to Twitter. So it kind of makes me look like I'm on there a little more than I am. But my people seem to be the Facebook people. You got a ton of followers on Twitter, I'm sure. How many you got?
I do Twitter. I think now I'm at 32,000 or something.
Yeah, I've only got like 2,500. Now, Cornette supposedly, now this is the bet I made with Jimmy. I don't know if you know it or not, but I do his show about once every 6 weeks, and we get into some antics on there and have some fun, try and make some people laugh. But he supposedly has 95,000 followers on Twitter. And I said, I'm going to prove to you, Jimmy, that you don't have 95,000, because here's what I'm going to do. For every one of your fans that will send me $1, if 95,000 of them send me $1, I will send all of them $100. Now, there's your bet.
Oh, nice. There you go, man. Throw it out there on the table.
Well, guess what? Not one fan sent me $1. Now, so as far as I'm concerned, he has no fans. He's got no followers.
now,
Chris, not any of them.
Chris, do you have separate accounts?
I have Chris Bolin DDR on Twitter. I was living in Eastern Germany for a while. My girlfriend is actually from Eastern Germany, and I was living over there with her. So DDR.
You can tell, Vince, you're married.
The Deutschland Democratic Republic. The Deutschland Democratic Republic. And so that's my Twitter handle. That's what I was talking to you on. Trying to get the show set up initially. And on Facebook, I have Christopher King. I don't like the Bolin names. I don't like the rest of the Bolin family. So I took the King portion of his title and just kind of ran with that.
Well, you are both, and I mean this, guys, you are both welcome guests on the show anytime. Kenny, Chris,
Thank you so much. That means a lot.
There's anything you ever want to discuss, don't wait for me. If you got something on your mind, there's something you want to discuss, give me a buzz, let me know. We'll hop on you just like we did. Have
you seen any of my shows with Bill Apter?
No, I have not, and I love Bill Apter. I'm his biggest fan.
Bill really didn't know a whole lot about me, but he put me on his shows to stir up some heat. We talked about the screw job and how I told him what my knowledge of it was. Much like you were getting bits and pieces from them, and I was getting what I was getting from Cornette. And so even though you were sitting right there in the middle of it, I was getting the feedback of all that.
Right.
So we told the story, and I got heat because they thought that I suggested that Bret Hart be put in a sharpshooter. Yeah. And but like you said, great man, think alike. He was there for all of this. He remembers all of it.
Yeah, he was driving me to school, and there was a cell phone call that he said it to Jimmy. So
Yeah.
I remember it being said.
Yeah, and then you see what happened. But I can't believe anybody would get hot because you want to defend your company. And the way I saw it, I knew Jimmy was getting ready to come down here and start the developmental deal. Well, if the WWE's made to look bad and WCW continues to stomp WWE, that's hurting my paycheck.
Yep.
And I didn't want that. So I had a vested interest in it as far as I was concerned. They're the parent company. If I played for the Louisville Bats, I'm trying to help the Cincinnati Reds.
Yep.
And that's just the way I saw it at that time. So.
I agree. And, he did it to protect his company and everybody in it. And I'll back him to this day. But Kenny, Chris, listen, man, thank you guys so much for joining me, giving us a history lesson, your philosophies on wrestling today.
I want you to thank me for one more thing. The Prince and I did something we've never done on any other podcast before. We went 2 hours without cussing, and we want to be acknowledged.
Oh, that's right. It did clean as
2 hours. Pretty much.
Out of respect. So
I appreciate that very much, gentlemen. Kenny, give the Facebook one last time so they can remember.
Facebook /StarMaker Bolin. If you have trouble finding me at all, just look up Kenny StarMaker Bolin. It'll be pretty obvious which one's mine. I'll be pushing my book, DVDs, my dogs, Two Cow and Moo Cow. You'll see them on there. It'll be and who else has got a head this big? Now, I'm pretty easy to find.
Now, Kenny, in closing, because for 20 years I heard it from Jim Ross and I heard it from Bruce Pritchard. Can you do the Cornette imitation with the Kenny involvement?
Well, if you'll just shut up for a minute, Vince Russo, I'll tell you exactly what was going on. It was me and Kenny. It was everybody on top of the rings, and Kenny loved Jackie Fargo, and I loved Jerry Lawler, and we'd fight to the death.
History was made right there, Kenny. History was made right. You're
the only one I've ever done that for.
You just made my day. Well, listen, gentlemen, I'm going to sign off, but don't go anywhere because I'm going to sign off. Then I'm going to personally thank you. But there you have it, everybody. The great StarMaker, Kenny Bolin, good friend of mine now. I'm going to claim him as a good friend of mine.
I appreciate that.
His young, intelligent son, Chris, got all the looks in the family. Thanks you enough for that. And listen, guys.
You going gray?
Yeah. Can you imagine if he starts going gray before you? How about that?
I will. Yeah, I will. I guarantee it.
But, gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here today on the Swerve.
Vince, we had a ball. Let us thank you for having us.
No problem, guys. And that's it from here. I'll see you again next week.
Critically acclaimed producers Kayfabe Commentaries bring you the most candid shoot interview ever with Sabu, nephew of the legendary Sheik.
Would your aunt be talking business?
Of course.
With the Sheik?
Oh, yeah. And Carney. She can speak Carney better than me.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Prepare to explore the darkest corners of the man behind Sabu.
I would have stopped pain pills entirely if I was out of pain. Because I've been a little too long at the dance myself.
You feel now you've been too long at the dance?
Breaking Kayfabe with Terry Sabu Brunk, now available on DVD and on demand at shootinterviews.com.